This is Red Moon Role-Playing.
The World's Press. The World's Press is, as the name implies, all over the world. Newspapers from the USA to Britain to France, Germany, Russia, Spain. Many countries in South America, many countries in Asia. Everyone receives the World's Press. And there's an ad in every newspaper worth a damn. It goes out from the month of January. This ad reads as follows. Search for ancient pyramid in Peru. Explorer plans expedition to discover site of lost civilization. Lima, January 12. Explorer Augustus Larkin is planning an expedition to the southern highlands of Peru, where he hopes to identify the site of a pyramid long forgotten by history. Following the discovery of a number of gold artifacts in the region, Larkin believes that he has found evidence that will lead him to their source. He is currently in Lima, planning the expedition and is recruiting companions and possible backers. If you are an academic, explorer, bodyguard, financier, or other interested party, you may reach out to and make contact with the Larkin expedition, and so it follows. This is how we start our story. This is how the Masks of Nyarlathotep begins. Each character is drawn to the Larkin expedition for their own reasons. Some want the fame that comes with an exploration. The Howard Carter expedition in Egypt isn't that far from many memories. Indeed, some want the wealth that comes with an expedition. Plenty have heard of explorers finding cities of gold, or at least seeking El Dorado and coming home with any number of treasures, never needing to work another day in their life, hawking ancient wares from fallen lands and peoples. Others are possessed of a more academic curiosity. Antiquarians, archaeologists, fictionalists, writers, authors, those who would seek to make such a journey, well, less grimy, less grisly, and more exotic and interesting. The kind of tale that would fill the pages of a popular pulp serial. And then there are the occultists. Those with a more spiritual or mystical interest in fallen civilizations, lost faiths, mythologies. Those who believe that in pyramids lost to mountains and jungles, the wild, there is something to be found, something to lift oneself from the frankly cavernous wake that's been left in the years following the Great War, the Spanish flu pandemic, an uncertain future in Europe and elsewhere. This is where we introduce our characters. When you see this ad, Shelby, where are you? Where are you when you're reading the paper, and what is it that compels you to answer the ad that you read?
I'm sitting in a pub in Oxford. It's not one of the ones that many of the students go to. It's a bit out of the way. The kind of place where the locals go primarily to get drunk, not necessarily to be social. But I find it to be quiet. It's out of the way, allows me to focus and pay attention to the newspaper, so I'm not distracted. And also a place where my accent isn't commented on constantly. People are always asking me my opinions on the war, or if my family were involved in our war in the U.S. Something I don't want to think about. In fact, it's a lot I don't want to think about. I don't want to think about the fact that my writing career seems to be more focused on my popular fiction than my historical monographs. I don't want to think about what my brother thinks of my success when he packaged me off to Oxford to get out of his hair. I don't want to think about my parents. So I read the newspaper, and I see an ad for an adventure, a chance to see the world, to see more of the world, Something that a kid from Atlanta couldn't possibly imagine. Someone who spent so much of his time trying to wear down his southern accent so that at least he's not lumped in with the wrong side of the war, as many in Europe feel. A chance to get out and learn more and maybe get some information for one of my other monographs, or maybe, if I need the money, to write another adventure story. It's a living. It's something to pass the time, and it's something to keep me afloat as I wait to see if my brother sends me another check.
I say, Shelby. There's a voice from the other side of the lounge. You recognise Rupert Carruthers over there, one of your fellow Oxford academics. Stop hogging the paper, won't you? I'm wanting to check up on the racing results.
Oh, here you go. You lost again, by the way.
Ah. Well, you win some, you lose some, don't you?
Well, you lose more than some, but yes.
He walks on over to you, plonks himself in the chair on the other side of your table, bringing his brandy with him. Right, he says, reading the Racing Post. Lost again. Well, that's a dash bad luck.
Yes. Out of curiosity, do you know anything about this Larkin chap?
Larkin? What? Oh, let me see. Augustus Larkin. Do I? You know, yes, I think I do. I think the name is just on the tip of my tongue. You know what? I imagine a brandy will bring it back. He downs his drink, taps the empty glass.
I will go and pick up the glass and take mine as well and go buy another round for him. It's probably my turn anyway. It's usually my turn.
Rupert, who is all of about 26-year-old, has a monocle. His hair is thin but slicked back tight against his scalp, always wearing outrageous tweeds. There's all manner of rumours about what Rupert gets up to. It isn't necessarily the fashionable thing to be quite so much a gadfly, even though these are the Roaring Twenties are entering into him. Yes, plenty of rumours surround Rupert. While he is a drinker, a gorger, a roarer, he is also a lot of fun. He has money. He's the only son and inheritor of his parents' wealth. He never seems to have suffered the same kind of overbearing grief that nearly crushed you, Shelby, when your parents died. Oh, top hole, old chap. That's the spirit. Yes, of course. Larkin, come back to me now. I remember I met him once at a party. Must have been... time. You know what they say about time. A bit of a wastrel, is what they said about Larkin. You know, comes from the upper crust, but a bit of the soggy edge. Is not in best form with his family, with his friends. Goes around throwing money about like it's running out of fashion, he says, with no ability for self-reflection.
Well, thankfully that you don't have to worry about such appalling standards in your family.
Oh, gosh, no. No. Ever since mother dropped off and father went the same way, it's been nothing but gravy, I suppose. I mean, don't get me wrong, I miss the old dears. But you know what they say, Shelby? A man never becomes a man until he is released from the clutches of parenthood.
I never heard that before, but okay.
Well, there's plenty of toddy sniffing around me, but I guarantee I don't intend to be in the clutches of parenthood the other way round, either.
Of course not. No one can tie you down. You're too wily.
I like that. Wily, yes. Why are you thinking of heading out? Does it say Peru?
It does, and I honestly, I'll be honest, I love Oxford. It's been great here, but a bit of adventure I think does a body good.
Peru then? What's that? South America?
I'm reasonably sure, yes.
Well, gosh, that'd be a long way to go, wouldn't it?
It depends on where you come from. I mean, for me, it's practically next door from where I used to live.
I suppose so. Sometimes I forget you're an American.
I'm sure you do.
Well, you're such a gentleman. Every other Yank I've bumped into has been thick-tongued. It's like speaking to someone who's eating a potato.
That is true. Most Americans are just terrible.
Well, do you fancy some company?
Do you think you can arrange your affairs to come to Peru?
My affairs, they either come with me or they check in the morning and find I've disappeared. No. It might be time for me to stretch my legs, make some distance from Oxford. There's a lot of people here who are frankly a bore, Shelby. They have their hands in my pockets in a way that I find unseemly. Maybe some time and distance will make them forget debts and such.
You know what they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and the further away, the fonder they get.
How can I miss you if you won't fuck off?
Exactly.
Well, he puts his hand out to you. Travelling companions, then.
I look forward to it.
And the next brand is on me. And so, alongside Rupert Carruthers, Shelby, you make your plans to travel for Lima. You aren't the only individual embarking upon this expedition. Indeed, Madeline Hopper. Madeline, the same question to you. Where are you when you read this article? What is it that compels you to take it seriously?
It's beginning with a very unserious moment. Currently, I'm in Harlem. There are these pockets globally of communities, locations, cultures that just have a tendency to supercharge me or give me a place to rest. And Harlem, especially in the 1920s, is just one of those areas where I can hang out for a couple of months before I try to figure out whatever my next move is. And I never regret stepping by Harlem. And right now they are just at the cultural rebirth of everything. So where I am currently is outside in between two local Harlem businesses in one of those narrow alleyways. There's a wooden stage that's been erected, and there is just a poetry reading that has happened. Several people are gathered. And when I originally reached for the newspaper, it's to roll it up and swat some kid that I know that's getting ready to swap my wallet. I saw it coming down the pipeline. I was that kid. I am that kid. And it was just one of those things. There's a playful jab, and my thumb sticks on something about Larkins and something about a pyramid. And I think, I've never been to Peru. This could be interesting. And at this point, I begin to unroll the newspaper, and my attention is divided between listening to the pure majesty that is happening on stage and then my curiosity being piqued as I can feel that recharge settling as my battery goes to full and I know that I'm ready for the next adventure.
There's a fellow stood next to you, a frequent attendee of these recitals, just as yourself. Goes by the name Moses, formerly, but Mose to his friends. He has his arms folded, a serious look. Lip is usually pouted a little, almost in judgment, his chin out forward. He classes himself something of a poetry enthusiast, though he has never had the confidence to stand on stage and deliver himself. He juts that chin of his out at you, Madeline. You ain't impressed neither, then? With the reading, I mean. I
blink, and my gaze sweeps over to Mose, and I look at that chin. That jaw and that chin are such a colorful experience to integrate into everything that is happening. No, I'm not impressed.
Huh. I know. These kids. Standing on that stage, thinking they can explain the world. with a rhyme here, a ditty there. They don't know nothing of struggle.
What would you prefer these kids be doing, though?
Let me give you a list.
Oh, that was an invitation I didn't mean to extend. My apologies, Mose. I smile at him.
You don't need to apologize to me, Madeline. It's okay, I'm just in one of my grumps, that's all.
Would you like a distraction?
What do you got in mind?
And I'm just going to hand him the newspaper with my bright red painted thumbnail pointed directly at this ad for this search for an ancient pyramid, lost civilizations, the Larkins expedition.
He squints, moves it toward him, pulls it away. You're gonna have to read it for me. My eyes ain't so good as they were.
It's one of those moments I'm going to take an intentional beat just to wonder, do I think Mose can read?
Likely not. Like an awful lot of the people living in Harlem at this time, literacy doesn't tend to be the highest on the public agenda. Finding work, honest work, keeping a roof over your head, that's number one, and most of the work these people are given, well, they have to forge a way to earn. It doesn't require much in the way of reading. Reading's a luxury few of them can afford. But pride wouldn't allow him to say that, and indeed, politeness would not allow you to mention it.
Absolutely not. I have no intentions of degrading or humiliating a proud man. I'm going to pull the newspaper back. I know, the font keeps getting smaller and smaller on these publications. I swear they're just looking for extra space at this point. And then I'm going to read out the entire article. It's a very theatrical reading. I'm teasing him. I'm inviting him into this dance. I'm annoying him. There's that entire balance of, it's not flirtation as much as it is just adoring poking back and forth. It's Mose.
Mose's expression changes as you do your reading. It is like a story that you're telling. It's like you're weaving a tale, and by the end he's captivated. Wowee, he says. Peru, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It must be 1,000,000 miles away from here. You're not thinking of, heading down there, are you? Madeline, he says, looking at your expression.
I know, but Peru? I've never been. I don't speak Spanish. I think they speak Spanish there.
Oh boy, he says. Spanish?
Mm-hmm.
And redundantly, he says, well, sweeping his hand over his hair, that's a whole nother language.
It's a whole nother everything. New food, new culture, new people, new poetry, new approaches. Everything is new.
You don't find that frightening?
No. I find it exciting. But, hey, if I'm going to Peru, could I pay you a few dollars to leave some things at your house? Please?
He genuinely looks offended. Madeline, you don't need to pay me nothing to look after your things. I've got room. I've got a cupboard. It's dry. I can look after your things. It's fine.
Thank you. I can keep in touch. I'll let you know when I swing back through Harlem. I don't know how long this expedition will take, or even if they'll take me, or if I have to find some more creative ways to integrate myself. But, you know, I can't stay out of Harlem long. I'll stop back in when I can.
Just wait a moment, he says, raising a hand.
Oh, my eyebrows arch.
And he leans in. Do you know what they're like down there? I mean, it's hard enough making a living in the city, you know? Not so many accepting people hereabouts. What are you gonna do? Just ride up into Peru and introduce yourself and hope that they give you a seat?
And I turn the newspaper towards them and I point at the text that I know they can't read, and I'll say, they posted an ad. They practically invited me.
Well, I guess that there's no language in there or nothing that says that you can't go because of who you are.
That's true.
Well, Madeline, Best of luck to you, he says. He's genuinely astounded and impressed at your chutzpah. The fact that you are willing to put yourself out there like this. It's a dangerous world, especially to a young woman. And, well, what do you know of Peru, of Lima, of this expedition, of what it could all mean? But there's also a part of you that undoubtedly knows that risks need to be taken. You're not the kind of person who can just sit on her hands all her life.
No. I have an aversion to boredom. What I don't know, I'll figure out along the way.
And so you send your telegram to the expedition, the address provided, and hope that you receive an affirmative response. But honestly, Madeline, if I can venture to say so, it seems like even if they declined, you might just show up anyway. And that leaves us with our third investigator. Now, his circumstances are a little different. Felix Bauer. Now, Felix, you are already in the area, unless I'm very much mistaken. Someone who has a vested interest in this kind of thing. But you tell me, how is it that you find out about this expedition? And what is it that makes you want to join?
Well, I am where I often am when I have a little bit of time to kill. At the bar with a stiff drink in hand and a cigarette in my mouth, reading the paper, looking for opportunities, looking for work. I'm in my late 20s, tall, with an athletic build and piercing blue eyes, white shirt with the sleeves rolled up and khaki pants. Yes, I'm Felix Bauer, from Düsseldorf originally, and now on the other side of the world, trying to find some kind of purpose. It's strange, I thought I had that. God was supposed to be with us, and the Kaiser guided me and kept me alive through the slaughter at the Marne. Most of my friends didn't. And then we just gave up. Unbroken, deep in enemy territory, yet still defeated, humiliated. I keep asking myself what the point of all that death and carnage was, and I guess there wasn't any. My buddies died for nothing. And I couldn't stay, so I joined the diaspora in South America. I move around a lot now, doing work where I can make use of the skills I picked up in the army. And it's a life, I suppose. Gets me enough money to buy the booze that I need to make the nightmares go away. The mangled bodies of my comrades splayed out in that killing field. They just won't leave me alone. So I take another sip and I try to shake those thoughts off. I don't need them right now. They'll come back soon enough. But this article in the newspaper, that is interesting. This looks like just the kind of thing that I might be able to join. Get some good money, and then perhaps I could take it easy for a while. Bodyguards? Yeah, protection. They need security. It's a dangerous continent that we're on.
Another drink, senor? The young lady at the bar offers you the bottle. You've been here long enough, and you're a frequent enough guest that they know they don't need to serve you by the glass.
Gracias, Miriam. Yes, I take the drink. This calls for a celebration. Seeing this opportunity. It's not every day that you see something like this. I mean, there are expeditions here and there, and opportunities to work security for embassies and the like, but this looks promising.
There's a voice at your side from someone who you know cannot be here, Felix. It's your brother, Siegfried. And why can he not be here? Not because he's back in Düsseldorf, but because he died. Not on the Marne, he wasn't deployed in the same post as you. He fought at Passchendaele, and that is where he met his end. At least you can suppose so. His body was never recovered. His identification was, but like many other soldiers, his body was no doubt ground up into mulch. Yet, here he is, as he often does, speaking to you. Felix, why Why do you throw yourself into hell's mouth when you so narrowly escaped it?
And I reflect on that question. It's a question I often ask myself. And I think I know the answer to it. Because I shouldn't have survived, brother. I wasn't supposed to survive. Why did I survive? It's not fair, is it? You should have survived.
I should have survived. Yeah, I should have. But that does not mean you should have died, and if your survival is by circumstance, who are you to throw it so haphazardly into the mill? You constantly throw yourself at these whims of fate. I am in no hurry, Felix, to meet you again.
I suppose you're right. I can't explain it, but it feels like I have to. Like I have to go out there and see what I'm made of. And if it means getting to see you again, honestly, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
You feel a chill run up you, starting from your middle right finger and jolting up towards your shoulder. It's a cold embrace, a freezing touch. This is the first time you've ever felt anything tangible from your, what is undoubtedly internal monologue. There can't really be the ghost of your brother here, in South America, with you. But right now it feels real. You can't see him, but you can feel him. You can feel his death, and you can hear his voice, even louder than usual. And Felix, if you must do this, you do this to live. Not to die, not to greet your death. You do this to find another reason for life.
You're right, Siegfried. That is what I must do. I must find a reason to live. I must rediscover it. It's out there. Perhaps that's what this expedition will find. A reason, a purpose. And then everything will be okay. And I'll be able to move on. God, I want to move on.
A statement like that is the kind of statement that makes you just want to drink. It's like a piece of punctuation on the end of a sentence that acts as a chaser just before a heavy drink. But on this occasion, you relent. You need a clear mind to respond to this telegram. You want to comport yourself in the best possible way if you're going to be hired here. Everything about this feels auspicious. Everything about this feels like an opportunity. And so you keep your head clear. You leave the bottle. And you make your way to the telegram office. It's in the next few days, those of you who actually wire the Larkin expedition, that you receive your response via Trans-Pacific Telegraphy. Thank you for joining the expedition. Stop. Please join me in Lima. Stop. Have booked you room at Hotel Mory. Stop. Meet 18th March at 7 p.m. at Bar Cordano, Giron Ancash 202, Distrito de Lima. Stop. Augustus Larkin. It would appear that your petition to join the expedition has been approved. Those of you, as I mentioned, who actually go through that rigmarole. In the case of Madeline Hopper, such bureaucracy is unnecessary. You already paid for your ticket. You're already on a ship heading down, toward Panama, where you'll hop onto another boat and then make your way down the west coast of South America until eventually you reach Peru. Serendipity, fate, destiny, lots of words for the same thing, brings you all to Lima at approximately the same time. A city bathed in heat, despite its altitude, rammed with people, and a generally what you might consider industrious attitude. Those of you who have not travelled far outside of your natural habitats before will have been most accustomed to the locations of South America, much as you will have been introduced to locations in Africa and Asia via pulp fiction, via the kind of thing that Shelby Shattuck writes, although he may not be inclined to admit it. Always words like exotic spices and warm air and the sounds of haggling in marketplaces. That kind of stereotype is far from accurate, as you realise when you arrive in Lima. The people here aren't interested in you. They're not here to cater to you as tourists. Just because you might be of a different ethnicity, a background, or nationality, they have jobs to do. They have lives to live. And quite frankly, they couldn't give a shit that you are occupying the same air as them, providing you don't breathe too much of the oxygen they need. Lima's high climbs are quite unfamiliar to all of you. Much of Peru is elevated. Of course, it is an Andean country. And so it's difficult upon arrival, once you've even grown accustomed to the locale, to not be slightly lightheaded. It's very easy to grow out of breath. It's very easy to just get very tired very quickly. And those of you who have been here for slightly longer than the rest, especially Felix, will know that when your body starts telling you it's time to lie down and rest, it's best to do so at a low altitude if you can manage it. It may sound ridiculous, it may sound like unnecessary coddling, but there is a real risk of altitude sickness, of hypoxia, of all kinds of conditions that those of you from Atlanta, from Oxford, from the Western Hemisphere as it's commonly seen, are just unfamiliar with. You aren't familiar with these dangers at all. That, more than exotic spices, is what you first become aware of when you arrive here. It gives Lima an almost hallucinogenic quality. Not an LSD high, but just dizzifying, labyrinthine, and other such words. Those of you who arrive here first, I'm going to suggest Felix, given that your proximity to Lima is the closest out of anybody. Before meeting up with the Larkin expedition, I'm going to ask you what your plans are, and I'm going to give you some suggestions, though do not feel obliged to follow them. You can, of course, research the interests of this Larkin expedition if you think that that's something that would be of interest to you as a potential bodyguard. You could investigate the Larkin expedition itself, or the man who has invited you, Augustus Larkin. You could check in to the Hotel Mory early. You could even ask some of the local colour about talk of a pyramid. But, as I say, none of this is prescribed. Once you arrive and get your bearings, you still have a few days to kill. So, Felix, where does your journey start?
I think that, given that I speak the language and I'm fairly used to, making my way around in the various countries here in South America, I think I'll really try to understand what is it that they might be looking for here. This pyramid, yes. What could that be? What are the stories? What is the local folklore saying about the kinds of treasures that might be out there? I try to pick up as much about that as possible to see what truth there might be in that. Because these expeditions, especially the ones that are coming from the other side of the world, I mean, they could have been drawn here over things that are definitely not true, right? And if I can learn that, well, perhaps I might be able to help guide them and help avoid something that might end up being, well, embarrassing or humiliating in case we start going after something that's obviously not a real thing.
And here's the killer question then. In what places is Felix looking into this information? It's one thing to ask an old person on the corner, another to head into a museum or library. Are you researching this from an academic perspective? You mentioned folklore. You tell me, what would Felix's usual channels be if he was trying to find out about the lay of the land?
I think it would be the common folk, really. So Felix does like a drink. I would probably be moving around the drinking, the various watering holes that are out here, and talk to the locals about what they know about these places, and especially some of the older ones. You know, there must be people here who are not necessarily followers of Christ necessarily, but perhaps prescribe more to the older religions, right? The people who were here before the colonists came.
Very smart. So you venture into some of those holes in the wall style bars rather than, decked out with outdoor seating, pubs and restaurants and so on. Places where locals frequent and where you are eyed with some distrust because of your ethnicity. And even though you speak Spanish, you still have an accent. But buy a round of drinks, ask questions politely, and you might be able to find something out. Could I ask you, let's start off as we mean to go on. Felix, make a social roll of your choosing. And when I say that, you obviously have charm, fast talk, persuade. I don't recommend intimidate at this time if you're trying to endear yourself to the locals.
Well, then let's try charm then. It's at least the one that I have the highest value in, even if it happens to only be 15. I got a 10.
Okay, you rolled a 10. Very good. Very good. And I will remind the players at this point that I don't hold with the idea of you only tick skills when you fail. You get to tick skills whenever you use them. Any practice is good practice, so any use of a skill can lead to improvement rolls later. So make sure you tick those skills when you use them.
Done.
It takes you some time. Frequent visits to the same bar, in fact. This is what you found out when trying to track down information before. There's no point making a wide circle when you can become a known quantity, trusted or a nuisance. But the point is, people will know you enough to know that you're not here in the name of law enforcement. They wouldn't be so lacking in guile. And you're not here as a pest, really. You're still buying drinks. And so, yeah, you charm. And eventually, the people in this hole in the wall, they just call it La Taverna. It's not a terribly inspired name. It is what it is. As they're serving you a drink. Senor Bauer, pleased you have come back again, and you are once again asking about the pyramids, huh?
I am indeed. I am very fascinated by the stories about those pyramids. I mean, that's so exciting. These things left over from civilizations that were here hundreds of years ago.
When men like you come over here from Europe, it is always the same. They are looking for Incan ruins, they are lost and they are looking for Mayan ruins. It is whatever they are reading about at the time. But because you asked around, I asked around. I was interested too, because you seem like an interesting man, so drink up.
And I do.
And he pours you another. That one's on the house. I think you are putting my daughter through school.
I laughed lightly at that. Well, I'm very happy to.
So I looked into it. I asked around. Because, there are, of course, pyramids in the mountains. Some going back hundreds of years, some back even further than that. But I am not a historian, I simply run a bar. But I ask around for you, he says, leaning over the bar, his face very close to yours now.
And I lean in as well so that I can hear what he has to say properly.
There are myths and there are truths, Senor Bauer. There are tales that people chase like a dog with a tail. And there are hard truths with answers behind them. Now, this there is a pyramid that I hear that was recently discovered by a farmer and his son. Not from Lima, you understand, but from further out. But word travels, you know how it is. And they discovered in these ruins gold, solid gold. They did not keep hold of this, they took it to market, they made some money, that was that. But the gold made its way to an antiquarian, and the antiquarian said, "This is the find of the century. This makes, what is that Egyptian called? Tutankhamun. It makes him a big nothing. This is where the real treasure lies." Now, they try to find this farmer and his son again, of course, because they want to know where exactly was this pyramid, where is it found, we will launch an expedition, and I mean there are lots of interested people. But, and he lowers his voice again, they are gone. Their farmhouse is empty, the family has disappeared. He stands up straight, starts cleaning a glass. Now you ask me, that just means that they made good with their money and they moved to somewhere better. The ground in these mountains, it is hardly ideal for farming. It doesn't matter how many goats you have. It is rough, and the storms up there. But there are others, and this is where the myth comes in, that say they were cursed for stealing this gold, and that they are in the ground where their farm stands. So where this little pyramid is, I cannot tell you, but you have to admit it is a good story.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Gold. Gold will make people... Well, they'll do a lot for that.
That is true. There are many things I would do for gold. They say it can drive a fellow mad.
Suppose someone would have found out about the gold and would have come after them. Someone who might want to protect the pyramids, for example. Is there any, well, local indigenous peoples out there who might have an interest in keeping such a pyramid secret? Or is there anyone out there?
Senor Bauer, you read too many stories if you think there are native peoples in the mountains who hunt down those who have defiled their places of worship. I have read these stories as well. No. If what you are suggesting is true, I would suggest... And he gestures in a, I don't know, way. Military, government, you know, because it will not just be the archaeologists, it will not just be the natives who want this place. Gold is a potent lure for every man.
That's the truth. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed, I say, and I lean back and I sip on my drink.
And as you do so, it is around this time that Shelby, you arrive in Lima. You still have a couple of days to spare before your meeting with the expedition head, Augustus Larkin. Rupert has been your permanent companion the whole way, complaining incessantly about the change in temperature as soon as you enter the southern hemisphere.
How British.
Very much so. I tell you, Shelby, they need to do something about these mosquitoes.
Oh, do they?
They do. And he swats at imaginary mosquitoes. They haven't always been imaginary ever since you arrived in South America, or I should say, when you actually arrived in Mexico, and then had to truck and train and even for a portion hike your way to Peru. It wasn't the most comfortable of journeys, all told. You have occasionally been the victims of a mosquito onslaught, and Rupert has been sure to remind you of that.
Well, Rupert, I think what you probably should consider is if you have more alcohol in your blood, then either they won't leave you alone because they only taste alcohol, or they will be drunk and easier to kill.
You know, I know that you're ribbing me right now, Shelby, But I wonder if it's not the other way round. Maybe the mosquitoes can just smell how sweet I am. They like a little bit of a kick in their blood supply. They're not going to get the best of me. I'm not quitting drinking.
You've certainly outsmarted them.
Well, all told, in this place it seems where it's a little cooler. We're saved somewhat from the scourge of pests.
Yes. We should certainly, now that you're in the hotel, we can relax, we can settle in before the expedition.
A hotel, a bed that's not moving underneath me. Oh, delightful.
Exactly. No sloshing arounds, no hammocks.
The sloshing around I'm used to. It's the bumping up and down in truck beds and... Ugh. No. But what an adventure. Are you still maintaining that diary?
Of course I am. I pull out the beaten leather-bound journal that I carry with me everywhere I go, and it's strewn full of notes and details that... It's called a diary, but really it's just more a collection of sensory impressions and thoughts, things that I can use later to seed into stories I work on.
He pats you on the back. I tell you, Shelby, that is going to be a bestseller. I don't mean your usual... And he gives a rather dismissive wave. The puerile stuff you write. I mean, this is... an adventure into the beyond, isn't it? This is... and he gestures at Lima around you. The very many people minding their own business. The buildings that are thoroughly modern. The road that is perfectly laid. The exotic! And he raises his voice again. The world beyond civilization.
I will clap him on the back, and it's like, I think you more or less got the spirit of the thing, yes.
But no, what I mean is, we get this back to Oxford, you find a publisher, and you may not even need to edit the damn thing. People like the authentic journey, even the boring bits. It all adds flavour, doesn't it? What we need you to do is find romance here and there, maybe. A lover in every port. We've missed an opportunity there. But there's still time. And if we can't, we fabricate one.
I defer to your experience on that front, Rupert.
Well, I mean, I've been busy.
Well, yes. Why don't we, before we get into the romance and quote unquote exoticism and all that, why don't we just get settled into the hotel first, exchange our currency, all of that.
A wonderful idea. Let's see how stocked their bar is in this wonderful place we've arrived in. Look, our churches look nothing like that, he says, pointing.
Oh, this guy.
And so, yes, you check into the Hotel Mory early, and doing so allows you to get to know the hotelier. There is an older woman. You'd put her somewhere in her 50s, if you had to date her, who is stood at the counter of the Hotel Mory, flicking through a magazine, in fact. She looks thoroughly bored, and upon seeing you and Rupert arrive with your bags, doesn't look any more excited. She begins to speak with you in Spanish. Now, Shelby, can you speak any Spanish?
I cannot, no.
Rupert shrugs. I told you this would be a problem.
You did indeed. I will... Madam, do you perhaps speak English?
She sighs, she rolls her eyes. See, she says.
Thank you. We simply would like to check in. Believe the room should be under the name of Shattuck.
She pulls out a register from underneath the counter. A fellow passes through the lobby at this time. He has a drooping mustache, Latino complexion, you might say. He has I guess what you might call an indefinable age. He has the movement, the speed of someone in his 20s, but the age around his eyes and mouth of someone considerably older, and he looks at you and Rupert in a way that can only be described as suspicious. Rupert, for his part, exchanges the look. He's quite a good mimic. Get a load of him.
What? Get a load of who?
Oh, that chap that just that we were obviously staying in the same hotel. They didn't. Either he has a very strange way of flirting, or he doesn't like the cut of your jib.
Could be both.
Well, you never know, do you? I suppose he's someone for us to get to know. Lovely to get to know one's neighbours. That's us, dear, in the register. There, he taps the register. See. And she speaks in English. Your room is booked a week in advance, so it is fine for you to check in now.
Thank you.
And is paid up for the next 4 days.
Excellent.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. And do you exchange money, dear? See. Well, let's get rid of all of this, these lovely pounds sterling that we've been holding on to. No, she says. Just dollars.
Oh.
Well, we've got some. Imagine that, Shelby. The dollar overtaking the gold standard.
It is the 20th century.
So they tell me. I don't believe it.
I'll pull out some American currency I had from when I first moved over to the UK.
She doesn't make an effort to check it for authenticity or anything like that. She takes your roll of bills and exchanges it. And it's at this time, Meline, that you arrive at the same hotel. You have just arrived in Peru yourself and hot-footed it to Lima and the Hotel Mory. Honestly, given how long it's been since you left America, and your somewhat, let's call it, mercurial ways, you may have lost track of time, or even the calendar, so everything has felt like a bit of a rush since you arrived here. And so when you arrive, you neither know whether you're early nor late.
Just to backfill on that, I can only imagine that she didn't stay long enough to get a reply on the telegraph, or the telegram. So it's one of those things when she arrived in Peru, she was just running through every boat captain she could with that newspaper from Harlem, trying to go like, Larkin Expedition, do you know where I'm supposed to go? I was invited. I just don't know where I'm supposed to go. So there's probably this frantic moment where I finally get the location on the hotel. I may or may not know if I'm a week late or a month early. I'm not entirely sure. I just know where I'm supposed to go, allegedly. During the journey, just because with the amount of travel that I do, there are certain things that I have learned repeatedly that will help me integrate into a culture. And one of the things you can do is just acclimating to the attire. So at some point I've traded either a coat or something, jewelry, something from New York to someone where I can at least get a local dress. And there are certain phrases you always have to know if you don't understand a language. Hello, goodbye, please, thank you, toilet or restroom. If you can get through the first 10 numbers, that typically helps. And then, of course, do you speak English? So those are things that I've been rapidly metabolizing and practicing with the, okay, hola, got that one. Okay, adios, got that one. Ayúdame. Okay, so I'm working through there as I finally bumble into this hotel. There's nothing but a backpack on me. I have no crates. I have no suitcases. I have no luggage. Traveling light is absolutely the way to go. So I at least come stumbling in with a backpack in a local dress. My hair is probably sweated out and extra curly from the heightened moisture tied into a ponytail as I'm looking around. And the second I see non-locals, I go like, okay, at least I'm in the right place.
The lady behind the counter looks at you less bored now, maybe because you are such a sweaty, frizzy mess. She raises an eyebrow.
I will give her a smile, and I'm immediately just going to do a quick, if I may, psychology check just to see how she responds to someone smiling at her and if I can get adjacent impressions. You know when you walk into a room and you can immediately get a feel on just kind of like what the temperature is? I just want to know the temperature of the room that I just walked into.
The literal temperature is it's stuffy as hell. This is pre-air conditioning, and so it does not help with your overall swelter. But let's see how you feel about her temperature.
That was a 27 under a psychology of, these are in alphabetical order, 45. Just a regular success.
45. Okay, make sure you tick that psychology.
Will do.
It seems that she is entertained, if not sympathetic.
Oh, I can work with sympathetic. You know, sympathetic is one of my favorite demeanors that someone can have when they're addressing or working with me. I can live in sympathetic. So I am going to approach with the most embarrassed and patient smile that I can plaster over my pretty 75 appearance face. Buena. And it's very obvious I don't speak the language, but I'm trying to relay the intentionality that I'm trying to respect her enough to at least try.
Excuse me, dear, we're being served right now. You are done. Oh, sorry.
I will start to lead Rupert away from the conversation before he interjects himself any further.
Hardly the Ritz, is it? And she turns to you. It is okay, Senora, she says. You do not need to speak Spanish, but I appreciate the attempt. She says that looking at the two American-British gentlemen.
Thank you. What's your name?
She raises her eyebrows. Dominga.
Hello, my name is Madeline Hopper, and I am here for, and I'll pull out that newspaper, which at this point has like a coffee ring stain on it, like some smeared ketchup, like some tobacco ash. I was like, that thing has traveled all the way with me.
Basically glued together in many places at this point. At some point you found a hard piece of cardboard to stick it onto, otherwise it would have disintegrated. She nods. These two... And she says the word with some reluctance. Gentlemen, with your expedition. And this is you in the register. And she repeats the duration of your stay. You have the next 4 days to enjoy Lima. Although within the next couple, you are to meet up with the leader of your expedition.
My eyes get a little big there. They actually did reserve a room for me, a room that they accepted me? Wow. Oh, okay. Listen, this is a good day.
And so it is as you check in, and the third of your party, Felix Bauer, returns to the hotel from his visit to La Taverna, his final successful visit at La Taverna, that the party comes together.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play Masks of Nyarlathotep for Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. Joining us as our keeper is none other than our dear friend Matthew Dawkins, and we were also joined by Bridgett Jeffries and Eddy Webb. The music was made by Ager Sonus and Halgrath, and we've also used Cryochamber's Lovecraftian compilation albums. All of this with the permission of Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Graham Barey, Doug Thomson, Lily, Maciej, Black Templar, Dennis Sadecki, and Leonhardt for their generous support. We would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, this show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of the Lost, Call of Cthulhu, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and Warhammer 40k Imperium Maledictum there. And you can also get early and raw access to all of our recordings, and hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as even play some Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, I am the last. I will tell the audient void.